Oh, and sorry, before we start, let me make sure I'm saying your name right. Bernardo.
Bennardo.
Okay, great. Thanks. Welcome to Aural Hygiene. It's the podcast where we talk about educational films, caught films, experimental films, and interesting documentaries here. This is Matt. Today, we are getting into one of those interesting documentaries, which is the $2 bill documentary. And we have filmmaker John Bennardo here. Hello, John.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I just gave it a view. It is definitely a fun documentary, and just kind of like I guess a lot of, we'll say, geek culture things. You focus on a cosplay of a sci-fi series or something. So it's sort of a corner that everyone kind of knows exists, but rarely do people really poke their nose into it. So how did your nose get in there?
I was actually surprised when I started the film that nobody had ever done that before. Like you said, it's something that's out there that people know about, but nobody has ever bothered to pursue for any level at all, really, that I found. And I have my own small stack of twos in my desk drawer, like so many other people probably do, tucked away in a wallet. You might have one stuffed in a pair of jeans somewhere. And had made a few short documentaries and was looking for a new topic. And when I came across $2 bills in my drawer, I said, gee, I got to do something with these. I didn't know what to do. And I decided, let's make a little documentary. And I didn't think much of it. I thought it was going to be, a quirky little thing where we do some history and show me spending them at 7-Eleven in camera. And it turned out that once I started researching it and digging, there was so much wonderful information, superstitions and stories that people had about connections, nostalgia, just everything. I mean, everything that's in the film that you watched, 100 minutes worth of movie. People say, how did you do a 100-minute movie on $2 bills? And I say, I probably could have done 130. I had to cut it down. I mean, that's how much good material I had. So it was all there. And when you start digging, you find this great information, and it was right for a story that I felt needed to be told.
Yeah, I guess my own two journey. I remember having I think when I was 10, probably similar to your desk, having it, just right when you open the wooden drawer, there's one, right?
That's how it works.
Later on, I had, one in my wallet. As I said, I'm living in Japan now, and now just having a little bit of American money in my wallet is like the weird thing, right? So I've
Yeah,
had,
and to have a two in there, especially, right? If you got pulled over or something, and someone went through your wallet, to see American money would be strange, but then to see a $2 bill would be even stranger.
right. And I mentioned to you just before we start recording, in Japan, we have the 2000 yen bill, which would be equivalent to $20, but is never seen in Japan. I mean, it's not, and again, it's not a rarity. They do make them. They just mostly send them abroad. So if you get your money exchanged in America, you're very likely going to be given a bunch of 2000 yen bills. But when you come to Japan and use them, you're going to get a similar reaction to trying to pay with
Interesting.
twos.
Well, maybe there's another documentary for maybe I have to come out to Japan and
Yeah,
explore
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, I was mentioning the geek culture, and the big thing here, I guess, is the train culture. Just people being obsessed with trains. I mean, you might hear one roll past as we're doing this podcast. So I commute by train, and I'm on like a countryside line. It's not the main Japanese rail system. So there, I'm going to work, but I always get off the train. There's like people shooting pictures and stuff, and it's kind of weird. Like,
Yeah, not my thing, but to each his own, or her
yeah, yeah.
own, for that matter.
But
Yeah. So yeah, my thing was $2 bills, and I had 11 of them in a drawer, and I spend them regularly, not mine. And the interesting thing about it is I have my collection that I obtained from when I was young, and it went in a box. But then I went out and bought more, and I got them at the bank, and I used them, but I never touch the ones that I have in my drawer, which I'm actually on the video here. I'm pointing to it. This is where they're in this drawer
right.
here on my left. But I never use those. Like, those still have some sort of sentimental value. Like, those mean more to me than a stack of 100 of them that I may get at the bank. So there is that sentimentality. There is something collectible about them, and connection that you have with your own currency that won't allow me to spend the ones that are mine, but I will spend others that I obtain, through other means.
Now, you had it tightly tied in with the tooth fairy. I guess that's a mnemonic thing, two tooth or something like that.
No, it's the tooth fairy is, people know, comes in the middle of the night and leaves you money for your tooth. But if you just left a dollar, it's just, it's like nothing special. I think one of the appeals of the tooth fairy, this aura, is that she might leave you something cool and not just, a dollar bill or a $5 bill. So dollar coins and $2 bills have been the kind of things, since you don't see those very often, you can get one from the tooth fairy. It adds to the mystique of the tooth fairy. So it's really got nothing to do with it other than it's a cool way to deliver a $2 bill. And it actually speaks to the way we perceive $2 bills, because in as much as they are regular currency here, people just don't look at them that way. They look at them as this special thing, this thing that a tooth fairy can bring, but you can't go to the bank and get, when the truth is you can go to the bank and get them. So there's this whole aura around the $2 bill, which you saw in the film, which I can get into a little bit here, but just goes back to the fact that it was never really accepted. It was always looked at as this novelty thing, and it's never been able to shake that. And constantly people look at it as this weird thing.
Well, I guess a big part of it is sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. So, it's like perceived scarcity, right? In the years they're not making it.
Yeah, they've made it probably in the last since 2013, so 8 years. They probably made it 4 or 5 years, if memory serves. So they make it 50% of the time. It just depends on demand. Now, when they make it, they don't make all that many, but they still make them. And some people think that they don't make them anymore. That they do, and they are more scarce than other bills. But if you compare $2 bills to 50s, there are not that many more 50s than twos, and nobody has the perception of 50s as being rare, hard to find, but yet the twos are. And to go even further, $10 bills, you probably saw this in the film, there are not twice as many tens as twos. You would think that tens are all over the place because people use them, but 1.3 billion $2 bills out there, I think there's 2.3 tens. So it's not twice as many. So, for every $2 bill that you hold, there are not two tens out there. So how rare is a $2 bill? Answer, it's not rare at all.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised to see that little statistic. And sorry, just to wrap around, I won't stick on the tooth fairy too long, but just a weird synchronicity is, I watched half of the film Saturday night and half Sunday, and I teach on Saturdays. So that morning I had a class of small, 5-year-old kids, and there were 2 lost teeth in that class. Like during the class, I had to go get the tissue and wrap it up, have them put it in their bag. So I just thought that was a kind of weird synchronicity.
Yeah. You should find out on Monday what they got from the tooth fairy. Wouldn't be surprised. Well, probably Japanese money, but you never know. Maybe there's an American $2 bill somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, someone goes abroad for a while, they might pick up that sort of thing. So
yeah, when you get one, the perception, again, it's a little redundant to say, but when you get one, you don't think that there's so many out there, that you treat it with some reverence. You tuck it away and hold it for safekeeping, thinking it's worth something. And that mentality has to stop, in my opinion. In my movie, and I have a YouTube channel we could talk about that has a lot more $2 bill content. I'm just trying to get the message out there that twos are normal currency, and they still have some great powers, the ability to connect with other people, the ability to start conversation. The whole reason I'm on your show here is because I did a movie about $2 bills. But if I did a movie about $5 bills, I don't know that I'd be talking to you right now. Your interest, right, has to do with this unique piece of currency called the American $2 bill.
Right. And you get a lot into the artwork on the back, which of course that was striking, when I was a kid and got the first one, because it's of course the backside is so ornate, and who's there, who's not. That was interesting. It made me think of like you'll see pictures of Stalinist Russia where someone's in a picture and then they've been taken out, whereas they had all the founding fathers kind of moved around and shifted and all of that. So that was certainly interesting.
Yeah, and the beautiful back actually speaks to one of the reasons why it's rare. You saw it in the movie. People thought that when the bill came out in 1976, that was such beautiful artwork, that it was such an amazing picture for the back of a bill. It looked like a collector's item. It wasn't what you normally saw on American currency on the back. It wasn't just a building. It was this historic portrait. And so that actually contributed to how many people thought it was a collector's item and not a piece of real currency they could spend. So all these factors went into the perception of the bill, which I find interesting because it hasn't been able to shake it for many reasons. There's just so many reinforcements for people that it's not a real bill because of all these little misunderstandings or misconceptions.
And of course, that's the bill featuring Jefferson, which I don't know, seems. I mean, I'm I my degree is social studies education, so I have studied all this stuff, and I'm down with the Jefferson side for the most part. So it's kind of interesting that Jefferson does end up on the one that's a little more, we'll say, mystical or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I found that interesting as well. And you saw there was a presidential historian in the film who talked about his relationship, Jefferson's relationship with with Hamilton, and how they had a fight over money in a central banking system, and all these different things. And these are things I didn't know anything about when I started the film. And that's where, the research and the phone calls, when I started the process, you start going, wow, there's a lot of really interesting information in the movie. And one of the big words when people watch it is surprise. People tell me, wow, I'm surprised that I didn't know all of that about the $2 bill. I didn't know this, and I didn't either. But I think that's the beauty of the film, is that not only is it fun, educational, but you're surprised at how much you learn, how much you didn't know. And I hope that the story is, hope the way I told the story is, a nice journey for people to experience for 100 minutes.
Yeah, another one that I thought was certainly interesting was watching it go from United States bill to Federal Reserve bill in 1913. I was like, whoa, that is eerie.
Yeah, I didn't know. Again, that's another thing I did not know. That it was. I never looked at the top of a note. Just, you see the word Federal Reserve note, you don't think any of it, and then you realize that older bills say United States note. What's the difference? I would never have. I mean, how many people in your audience even bother to look at what that says and realize that there was a time when there was another set of words up there that meant something totally different?
And I do remember as a kid having, I want to say the date on it was 1930, and this was just a $1 bill, but in that larger format, which is also something we don't see much.
1918, 1918 was larger format up until 1928. 1928 was the first year where they shrunk the size down to the size you have today.
Okay, I'm
So
working on a 30.
there might be a 30 bill that's smaller, but it started in 28.
I'm also working on a 30-year-old memory there, so I'm not sure I'm right about that date.
Well, that's why I'm here to correct any misstatements you might make.
You're right, exactly. Because my grandfather was into coin collecting, so I remember in his basement quite a bit of coin sets. I guess we probably were at my parents' house. We probably have some of those. I don't imagine they got rid of them, but there's probably some interesting coin spreads that, hey, it's been another 30 years, so who knows? Maybe they are valuable now.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, people dig up $2 bills in their drawer and they think they're valuable. And I'll actually get emails. People Google search stuff on $2 bills and they end up finding my film or my YouTube channel, and they email me and say, hey, what's this worth? And I always have to write back saying, well, I'm not a numismatist. It's a tough word to say. I'm not someone who collects currency and knows all that. I know what I know from researching the film. I know, but I don't always know what a 1928 red seal $2 bill with a certain serial number is worth. I can give them a ballpark, but they're always asking me for that. A lot of times they ask me for, what is a 2009 $2 bill worth? I just found one. And I'm like, well, that's worth $2 because there's nothing special about it. And people just think that there's something more to it when it's really just a piece of currency that's worth $2.
Well, even the more rare ones, you need to, find the right venue. Because if I stop someone on the street and try and sell them my very valuable $2 bill, they're probably going to give me $2 for it. I need to go to one of those trade shows or something.
Yeah, if you took a red seal 1928 $2 bill into your local supermarket and spent it, would be, you just get $2. They would take it and put it in the drawer. It's worth a little more than that. But you have to find someone who's going to pay you for it, and that might be a currency dealer, either at a show, coin and currency show, or maybe he has a local, brick and mortar. But yeah, I same thing, with $500 bills and $1,000 bills. I did a video on my YouTube channel just to take currency a step further, and I didn't really research the 500 and 1,000 a lot, but those bills are worth more than 500 or $1,000. They haven't made them for 30 years or more. But if you took a $500 bill into a car dealership and used it to help pay for a car, they would accept it as $500, and you probably would have got more if you took it somewhere else. So, you got to be careful what twos you're spending, but any $2 bill with a green seal that says Federal Reserve note at the top is worth $2, unless it has something strange like a unique serial number as you saw in the film, or some unique caveat to it. They're worth $2 if they have a green seal.
Yeah, I was a fan of the one that said $2 on the front and $1 on the back. It's like, what's that worth? A lot, as
Yeah,
it
what
turns
was
out.
that?
But
Yeah, I forget. It was like 75,000. He said, I forget offhand. My own movie. I haven't watched that scene in a while, but that was a rare misprint for the audience's sake, where they had a 1918 $2 bill on the front and a $1 bill on the back, and so they call it a double denomination, and that's hard to find. Worth a lot of money.
yeah, I would guess it would be worth, $1.50, but apparently not.
Yeah, you split the difference between the two and the one. Yeah,
Exactly.
but those are
Yes,
fun things too. Error notes. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I was growing up, I was one of the people, one of those kids that I did enjoy reading the comic books too, and I read them too much, and of course they weren't in shape to sell anyway. But people are like, "Oh, these comics will be valuable someday." It's like, yeah, but you got to finesse it. You got to find the people who see it as of value. You can't just take it to the pawn shop and expect to get something decent for it.
It really, that's how as I got older, any collectible, it's only worth what you can sell it for, and if you can find the right person to sell it to, you can get a lot more than if you don't find somebody who's good with that. There are people on eBay selling $2 bills at a markup, because feed off the misconception that they are rare. So they'll sell a stack of 100 $2 bills, which I can go get from the bank tomorrow, pay $200 and have 100 $2 bills, but they'll put them up on eBay and they'll charge $240 for them, saying that they're rare and they're sequential serial numbers, which they would be if you got them in a bank. You're basically paying $2.40 for a $2 bill 100 times. It's a ripoff. And there are people that buy them. So, and there are people selling them and there are people buying them. So you got people who are taking advantage, and then the people who don't know any better, who are paying a premium to get a bill that you could just as easily get at the bank.
It's like, I recently found I play music, so I found a bass guitar at a ridiculously cheap price, like clean, like that one was about 30 years old, and people are like, "Oh, you can make a lot of money from that. You can sell it." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna play it." That's why I got it. The deal's nice, but I'm gonna play it. That's what I'm gonna do with it. So
I agree. It's a fun thing. I was never much of a currency collector. I mean, I like money in general. I like money, and I do find our currency history somewhat interesting. I never really looked into it. I made this film, and it was just, I thought certain bills were cool. I didn't really study anything or research anything, but this film really brought out an interest for me to go not so much beyond the $2 bill, but learn a little bit about other bills, and just in learning about the $2 bill, you learn about certain series years and changes that they made to the two that also made changes to other currency. Like the 1918 $2 bill has a battleship on the back. And then you learn that each of the denominations had a different back, showcasing something that America was proud of. So you start, taking this $2 bill history and expanding it to what you learn about other denominations, and you really start to learn kind of the history of our country, to be honest with you, and how things worked in the economic system, what the Treasury was doing, and dating back to the Civil War when they needed a universal form of currency. So I learned a lot making the film, and I certainly hope that it's communicated through the movie. I mean, you've definitely learned something, right? I think you'd be hard pressed to say you didn't learn anything by watching my film.
right, and it's funny because I have zero interest in economics. I don't understand financial stuff. Like I get a
Right? Neither do
paycheck, it's
I.
in the bank, but yeah, like you said, I am interested in history. I'm interested in American history, and looking at it this way really is more of a history thing than an economics thing. I mean, again, that's why you
Right.
don't really know what these are worth, because it's not the economics on your mind, it's the history and the interesting stories that come with it.
Yeah, and you can hold money. You can hold it. I mean, economics. I agree. I don't really care too much about it, but put a piece of, put a crisp $2 bill in my hand. There's just it has a certain feel to it. It's tangible, and that's cool. And that's why we save them and pull them out every once in a while. I would pull the ones out of my drawer, like I said. I said, I got to do something with these. They just felt different to me, and I wanted to do something cool with them, but it wasn't going to be to spend them because I didn't want to lose them. So there was that balance of what am I going to do with these, and so was to make a film about them.
And yeah, I also like the wacky sides of it, or the whack sides, I guess I'll say. But for example, I love the two owls lard conspiracy. That was fun.
Yeah, who knew, right? kind of crazy. And then I make videos on, like, I put some of that stuff on a short video on the YouTube channel that the film's based on, and people are like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "I'm just reporting. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just letting you know what's out there and what other people believe." So that is what we. I don't want to spoil it, but it is a what in Illuminati message on the $2 bill. Let's leave it at that, right?
Right. Well, you had that. We had Baphomet there. That's fun. So
Yeah, and that's kind of hard to see. I mean, if you look for it, you can kind of see it, but it is a stretch. You know,
yeah,
it's not.
if you got to squint that much, it's a
I
little
mean,
bit
you
of
could
pattern
see.
recognition.
Yeah, you can kind of see the horns, but again, it's like looking at a cloud. I could tell you what I see in a cloud. It doesn't mean you're going to see it. And that's the case on the back of the $2 bill. So people think that the Baphomet, the devil's back there, but it's only if you allow yourself to see it will you see it.
Exactly. We also had the space history, which is fun. I definitely was not. There's something I learned, if nothing else. The I'd heard about what Dr. Edgar Mitchell taking ESP experiments with them on the Apollo flight, but maybe he had a 2 on them as well, for all I know.
Yeah, and I love that story. That gentleman, Richard Jurek, is fantastic, and he actually, I believe, found me. I don't think I found him. I don't know how my research didn't pull him up, but he learned about me doing a $2 bill and made it a point to figure out where I was and how to reach me. And when he told me his story, the $2 bills on the moon, and I was like, well, it's gotta be, it's gotta be in the movie. Let me put you on the list. And I flew up to Chicago to meet him, and all that whole segment you saw there was me in Chicago with him. And these bills have been in outer space, orbiting the Earth in astronauts' pockets while they walked on the moon. That's crazy. I mean, that's unbelievable. Again, no other bill does that. There's no such thing as somebody's lucky 20 or lucky $1 bill, right? I mean, you've never heard that. It's a lucky 2. And nobody takes $10 bills to the moon. They take 2s. So that was a fascinating story and a great, great day working with that gentleman. And I think it really enhanced the film. It was a really cool part of the film.
Yeah, the luck thing is definitely there. Although I am thinking, if I was a Apollo astronaut, besides having the I've been on the moon bragging rights, if you're like, hey, I had like $1,000 in cash on me on the moon,
Just in case I hit like a lemonade stand or something, right? Or if there was a mall up there.
yeah. If the aliens are waiting, maybe they take Federal Reserve notes. I don't know.
Exactly. So that's cool too. And again, just to be redundant, but there's just so many cool things I came across, and that's one of them. So it's interesting to hear you, bring that up, or at least when you watch the film, to write it down, to remember to bring it up here during this podcast. That is something that was cool for you. It's cool for a lot of people to see that.
Yeah, like I've been a space geek since I was a kid, and I get into weird stuff. I'll sit there and watch people explain why no one actually went to the moon. It's fun. It's interesting. I want someone to tell me why they think Transformers are on the moon too. So, but
Well, and the Earth is flat, right? That's another one. The Earth is flat.
right. There's I don't remember the guy's name, but he's put out a whole documentary. Don't buy it, but it's fun to watch. So I guess
what about what? I'm interested now in watching that. Which one?
Flat Earth. What was it called? I think it's
Is
called
that
Level.
the documentary? It's a flat Earth documentary.
Yeah, I think it's called Level or something. So
Oh my goodness.
I mean, the point is, it doesn't even matter to you
No,
or to me. It doesn't matter. So if I really want to know, I need to, become one of our rich billionaires taking pot shots into space and check for myself.
or just get on a plane and fly east or west and just keep flying until you're back home. And then you'll figure out the Earth isn't flat. So
Right.
that's the solution. In fact, if I had enough money, I would get like the 200 most prominent people who believe the Earth is flat, and I'd say, I'm putting you on an airplane and I'm sending you east for 20 hours, and you will land in the same place that you started eventually. How we'll prove it to you.
Yeah, I'll give flying to Japan. If you're got the window seat, you're going to see the north coast of Alaska, which, if it were flat, wouldn't really make much sense.
So, right. Of course, if you did that around the world, they'd all come back and say, well, somewhere along the line, the plane turned around and didn't tell us, when you blah, 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 blah. People, once they have a belief on something, they kind of stick with it, even if proof is presented.
Exactly.
Just look at our last election. I'm not going to get into that, but
yeah, I don't even know what happened there. Again, Yeah, for me, I've gotten to the news like I'll look at the headlines, right? Just like I just want to see what they're saying today. I'm not even like really buying it too much. So, um, and of course, I see the completely different flavor in Japan. So which most of the news, NHK state television. So I guess we're getting like state news. America doesn't get that so much. They have the couple giant companies now, which give you the flavors of news, right? So
Yeah.
we don't have. I guess PBS would be the state news, but nobody watches that.
Yeah, I would be interested in hearing more about Japan, but that's not the topic for this podcast. We're here talking $2 bills, not your life in Japan. But um, it is interesting to hear the differences. I've never been there, so I don't know. I didn't even really know that. I know they have yen there. I didn't know what the denominations were. So when they have a 2,000 yen bill, that's like news to me. I don't know the denominations. I don't know if that makes me naive or what, but I never really studied Japanese currency. So I mean, I know they have the yen just because I hear it, but I don't think I've ever seen one, or if I did, I forgot. I'm here in the United States and I deal with American currency, and that's pretty much it.
Right. I mean, but yeah, I guess like you said, it's so tied in with American history. So I mean, if I went to Indonesia and had a study of their currency, that's gonna, bring up some interesting stuff. Um,
I did do a video for my YouTube channel, I think in the last year, because I take, the channel is great for those anybody listening, is there for free. That's one place you can watch the film. And then I also took all this extra content that didn't fit in the film and repurposed it for the purposes of a YouTube channel. I have about 65 videos, and one of them was $2 bills around the world. And so I found all the different bills around the world that have a two on it, whether it's not, worth two, whatever. I mean, that's why the 2,000 yen, it's not two, it's 2,000. So I didn't go there. But if there was a 2 yen bill, which I guess would only be worth what, a 2/10 of a penny in Japan, right? If my math is correct. So I profiled in one short video all the different twos around the world, some of which are still being used and some aren't. But it was an interesting educational thing. And the research on that one was tough because I had to make sure it was accurate. Like, is the bill still being used? And then there's some people who called me out on the comments that said, I missed this one or what have you. So probably got 90% of them right. The video might have a few factual errors, but I did my best.
yeah, I worked one summer in Canada, and I remember having to, learning the whole nomenclature at the loonies and the toonies and all of that. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the toonie is obviously Canada. That's a coin. The toonie is a coin. We know that, and we know that from the film. But I didn't know much about other foreign currencies. There was only that one bit in the film, which you probably saw toward the beginning when I was at the numismatic show, when I mentioned that I saw some twos from other countries, and one of them was, I think, Zimbabwe. Right there, they went by real fast. I flashed a couple of them on the screen just to show that there are twos in other countries. But that was the extent of any research I did on foreign twos for the film. That's not really what I found the film should have been about. It was, the American $2 bill, which is the quirky, misunderstood bill that nobody thinks is real.
The other, I guess, quirky thing with that denomination and $1 bills is simply the fact they're not coins. I found most countries I've been in, it's like Japan, it's not paper until you're up to the equivalent of $10. Anything under that's a coin,
Yeah,
or no,
yeah.
ones and twos. Canada, it's coins, right? I'm trying to remember. I went to Europe before the euro was the thing, so I had to keep exchanging my money, and I can't quite remember what the deal was there, but
Our American system of currency, people are used to $1 bills, and they're really less and less practical as inflation grows. And probably I've had some people tell me on my YouTube channel and comments and whatnot, and that they should probably overhaul our system. But people aren't used to change, and I don't mean coins change. I mean, change like from one thing to another. You can get rid of the $1 bill and say, hey, the two's more practical, or we're just going to eliminate the one altogether and go with fives. People don't want to do that. People are set in their ways here on the kind of currency they use and how they use it. The one bill outside of the 20 is probably the most popular bill that we have. And I don't think they're going to get rid of it anytime soon. I know the government, and I think I said this in the film to some degree, the government would rather print $2 bills because you can get twice as much money with half the currency, half the paper, save a lot of money on printing supplies. People just won't accept it. I mean, it's such an easy bill to use. It's so much more convenient, I find, when I spend them. No one's ever going to change in this country. Maybe in Japan they would, but here, government ever said we're not going to make $1 bills anymore, there'd be an outrage.
Yeah.
People would not know, and they wouldn't know what to do.
I guess it's how many people even carry money in the States and how much. Like I said, it's been last time I was in the States was 2010, but I remember usually having about $20 in my pocket just for whatever, and mostly using a bank card, right? Whereas
Yeah, I've had $1 in my wallet, I think, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I think I just gave it as I bought a pizza or something. I threw it in the jar, so now I have no money in my wallet, and I don't see any reason why I need to stop at the ATM and get more, because I don't know when I'm going to use cash. I mean, cash just comes to me when maybe we split dinner or something, and someone gives me cash to cover their half. But otherwise, I rarely get cash. I don't know about you.
well, I was about to say in the States, definitely the case, but
Yeah,
living here, I hope no one comes and stops me in a dark rice field tonight or something. But I walk around with like the equivalent of like $200 in my pocket most of the time, which you would not do in the States, especially in a
no,
city like Atlanta.
yeah, you don't need it. I mean, when do you use? It's. I think people like to get cash. It's convenient. Here we get hurricanes. Some in South Florida. If you need to evacuate or something, it's good to have cash, because if power goes out or something, you can't always use your debit card. If a grocery store's power is down or something, cash is universal. But I also did a video on my YouTube channel recently called "The End of Cash," because it looks like through the years there have been less and less cash, and we're using it less. So you wonder if we're ever going to get to a system, especially with crypto now being popular, but you wonder if we're ever going to get to a system where cash just isn't used. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I posed a question in a video on my YouTube channel, and then it's interesting to read the commentary when you get it back. I like cash. I just find myself not using it very much.
Well, I'll be your weird anachronism then, myself and my Australian friend. He lives in Tokyo, and like I can buy things online. I have like credit card information, but I do not have a piece of plastic that I can use in a store to pay for things. And neither
Wow,
does
that's
he.
interesting. So
So
when you go out, like if you go to a fast food place or pick up a meal takeout, how do you pay?
cash.
Oh, you pick out. Okay,
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
All cash
When
all
you
the
run out
time.
of cash, you go to the bank and get more.
Right. That's one of the reasons I walk around with relatively large amounts in my pocket all the time. So
Because you might need to use cash 4 or 5 times in a day or something, depending on what you're doing.
yeah, because once I'm under $100 in cash, I'm like, oh, I need to stop by the ATM again. So
Yeah, I haven't $100 cash in my wallet in a long time.
right, exactly.
Even when
Yeah,
I
just
have
it's
even when I
so
have a
different.
stack of twos, I'll bring $20 in twos with me and keep that in my wallet. And then when I buy something small, I'll use a couple of them. And again, it always gets a reaction. It's always cool. But even when I'm carrying twos, unlike that guy in the film, Reisman, the guy in New York that hands them out all the time. Remember him with the
Yeah.
rap stars? He carries wads of them on him. But I don't. I just carry enough to uh, enhance a transaction, or if I'm going to buy something small. The interesting thing, I was going to say, it doesn't feel like real money. Here I am, the guy that made the movie. If I have 5 twos in my wallet, yes, I know I have $10. But if I go to a store and buy something for $5.89, I'll give them 3 twos. Yeah, I'm spending $6, but I don't really feel like I'm spending $6. I feel like I'm just giving away 3 of my twos. Does that make any sense? Like it's money, but it's like I wasn't expecting to use it as money. If I give somebody 3 twos, it's not cash. And again, I'm the one who said a few minutes ago that I love cash. So I don't. It's an interesting dynamic. Even it plays tricks on my own mind that I want to keep my twos, or if I can get something for $6 and use 3 $2 bills, I'm not really out any money because they were just part of my gift stack.
Well,
Anyway, I'll
it,
stop rambling on that one, but it is an interesting thing for me, the way to use twos in my own life.
well, I was just thinking it's kind of interesting, like how the brain works, because it's simple math, right? But it's like our money math doesn't go there. Our money math is 25, 1, 5, 10. So the even numbers don't really, we don't think of that when we're
Totally.
thinking about money, you know?
I think another way to put it is, if I go to the bank and buy $100 worth of $2 bills, they're going to give me 52s. In my mind, I've just spent $100. Like that 100 is gone, even though I have the exact amount of money in $2 bills. So again, if I go to a store and I spend $5.89 on something, I away 3 of my twos. I'm not giving away $6. I already spent that $6 as part of the 100. It's just how many twos I have left to use. That might be a better way to put it. That's just the mentality that goes through my mind. How many twos do I like? These twos give me a chance to get a bunch of stuff for free because I've already spent the $100 to get them. Now it's just how many twos do I have to use before I run out? So it's again, I'm the guy that's promoting that real money, and then I don't treat them as real money when I buy stuff.
Well, yeah, we still occasionally get bonuses in Japan. So especially there's special bonuses sometimes, and it's like, oh, buy a guitar or something. It's like not real money anymore. So that's kind of
Exactly.
fun in a way. So
Yeah, it's like when you get bonus money, like you just said, it doesn't feel like you feel like you're playing with house money, to use a casino analogy. You made an extra 100 that you didn't think you were going to have, so you can spend it because you never really had it. It's like $100 of free stuff.
yeah,
It's a psychological way that we deal with money. I think is always interesting. That should be my next movie, is the psychology of money. That would be interesting.
yeah. Like I said, I barely understand anything financial, so it's just like I don't know. I stopped thinking about money for the most part. I don't make more money. I just stopped thinking about it, and so far it's been okay, I guess.
Mhm.
Now, talking about
Well,
going out with no credit card, I will say my wife does have a functional credit card, which is sometimes used. But hey, I'm often out by myself, so
in an emergency, honey, pull out the credit card.
right.
So, using $2 bills, the other thing which you saw in the film is it does help you be remembered. I mean, if you use them, people light up when they see them. If you're trying to get a table at a restaurant and you tip somebody a $2 bill, they're going to remember you, and they see you the next time, like, hey, you're the $2 bill guy. And they might give you better service or better treatment if they think they're getting a $2 bill as a tip as part of the deal. So they do have that power. Again, is a good word that I come back to. They have a power to create conversation and connection, and help people remember you, and whatnot. So really cool bill, top to bottom.
Okay, yeah, a conversation starter. Now, I
Mhm.
grew up always hearing it as I think I got the bad luck messages from it. I have not had bad luck from a $2 bill, but I do remember hearing that from other people the most.
Yeah. A small percentage of people consider the two to be bad luck. The majority think they're good luck. And that goes to the bad luck part, goes to the whole section of the film where people used to tear corners off the bills. They thought that warded off the bad luck. Again, these are topics I can get into for a while, but to your listeners, go watch the film and you'll get you'll get it all. But yeah, there's a lot of elements about the $2 bill, depending on how it comes across your desk or your life, how you receive one. It could be considered bad luck or good luck. And good luck. There are a number of origins of bad luck stories which are in the film. One of them, its association with the racetrack, bets being $2, prostitution back in the day, $2, bribery for politicians, $2 bills. There's a lot of factors that played into that, and luck is what you make of it. If you think something's lucky, then it is, but there's no scientific proof anywhere that anything is lucky or unlucky. It's just how you associate that object with circumstances and events in your life. You can very easily associate a $2 bill with good luck if you want. Doesn't mean that's not the reason why you had any luck. It's just your ability to put those two things together and perceive it that way.
Right, you're putting your mental energy into it and making it that thing. So it's kind of up to you if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. So,
Right.
but
Right. Again, it
but
goes
did
back to how you got it.
but it did make me wonder if it's a regional thing. Like at Atlanta, maybe the general vibe was, oh, it's bad luck, or New York, maybe it's good luck or something like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it. I've never really looked at it in those terms. If it's, in one geographic area more looked at more favorably than others. I haven't found any evidence, just, without looking, and found any evidence or come across anything like that. It's really just each person has their own take on it, regardless of where they live.
I was wondering if your research has led you into anything about, I mean, obviously you showed a lot of the technology on how money is made, which is something that seems like they might. Did you have trouble filming that? Seems like something they wouldn't want filmed.
No, God, that's a great story, because I called the Treasury Department looking for someone to interview, just an authority on money. And they were printing $2 bills 2 months later and invited me to come. They said, we are making them and no one's ever filmed them. You want to come out? And I was like, are you crazy? Of course I'll come out and do that. So I had to go through a few security clearances, but I was invited and I jumped on the chance to do it. And I flew out there with a colleague and we had 2 cameras, all that footage that you see, $2 bills being made, which came in incredibly handy. My goodness, that footage is invaluable for how I used it. And even in supplemental material on my YouTube channel, that footage has proven to be invaluable. But me and another guy out there filming, carte blanche on the floor, angles of $2 bills flying right across me as I film underneath the machine. You saw the footage. It was a great experience to go out and do that and be given that kind of access. And from what I was told, I was the only person ever to film that. So if you see footage of $2 bills being made somewhere, it's either mine or I don't know. I don't know. It's got to be mine. It's actually the way to put it.
I guess we can pun intended and call it the money shot of your film, right? So
the money, exactly. I don't think anybody's used that pun ever. No one's used that pun, money shot.
Okay. But no, I mean that's the one I mostly remember because it's definitely something I hadn't seen because, well, apparently no one's seen it unless you work there.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. And that was a day before my birthday. Just happened. So it was like a birthday gift, I guess, to fly out to Fort Worth, Texas, and be given that access at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing and shoot that stuff. It was just a great experience. And it really gave the film a lot of credibility at the time. I was running a Kickstarter campaign, crowdfunding to raise money to make the film. And when I got that footage and inserted it into some materials to promote it, it really validated that what I was doing was legitimate and helped the campaign succeed, really, and helped raise me the money to make the rest of the movie. Otherwise, I don't, if I didn't raise that money, I don't know what I would have done. Probably I wouldn't be sitting here. I know that.
Right. But I was wondering if that that led you to learning about like current or future money technology. Again, I say I have a friend from Australia, and if you've come across Australian money, it's weird. It's kind of plasticky. You actually cannot tear it. And
I've never seen it. No. It's funny. I am. People look at me as this guy that made this movie and think that I'm like the money guy. I'm going to go out and follow this up with a bunch of other currency movies, and I could, but it was a passion of mine to do this about the $2 bill. I was fascinated by the bill and interested in learning more. And now I keep my YouTube channel going. I'm not as passionate about it to the point where I want to go off and make a movie about the 10. It's just one of those things. It's something I felt I had to do to make that movie. And I hate to use the words "I'm over it" because that's not really accurate. But in layman's terms, I'm over it. I've done that film, and I don't really find myself having an interest in doing another currency movie for whatever reason.
Right. Well, I just grabbed my wallet, so I got 2 denominations of a Japanese money, which is they call it the sen yen.
Yeah.
So
okay, so that's $10. That's $10 of American money, right?
Right. And then this
tell
one would
now
be
because
like,
all you take the decimal point and move it over to.
It's not quite that, but it basically works that way. This one's just kind of fun. The fun thing is if you hold it up to a light, which unfortunately I can't do for you, you get a ghost image of the person on the bill, which
in the circle. I was just wondering.
There, you can kind of see them. Yeah.
So I do see it. Yeah. That's a counterfeiting measure, right? That's a counterfeiting measure.
Yeah. Exactly. And of course you get the stamp with kanji characters, which is kind of fun. So
okay.
No clue where it's made. I don't know enough kanji to tell you that. So
so now we know how much money you have in your wallet.
I got more than that. No, like I said, I tend to walk around with quite a bit in my wallet. So it's weird. Like I had a friend where it's like he dropped 10 yen and someone like came to the office with the 10 yen. Like he dropped it at the convenience store or something, and then someone brought it to the office. Just 10 yen. I mean, he didn't even care, right? That's 10 cents, by the way. But
10 yen is 10 cents.
Right.
So someone, okay.
Yeah. So someone basically came to give him a dime that he dropped, like, 5 minutes later or something, just crazy,
Right.
You lose your wallet. It probably will come back with the money in it, which I don't think is the case in the States.
No, for your audience who's not looking at a video, I am not agreeing with you 100%. You're not getting that back. There are good people who would actually, but odds are probably against it. If I were to lose my wallet, I don't think I would have a whole lot of faith that I would get it back. And then if you got it back here in the States, you would actually be surprised. You'd be extremely grateful. because it's not really expected. I hate to say it, but it's true.
um, Before we run out of time, I want to push the ball ahead a little bit because you are up to other things. You have a relatively new book, so we should give that a few minutes of your time.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller, and so this project was terrific. But I grew up a writer. And in this $2 bill movie, I mean, yeah, I shot it and I edited it, but I wrote it as well. I mean, I had to put it all together and tell a story. But my writing roots, I used to write a lot of prose and fiction, poems, and silly stuff. And recently, I like big projects. I like things that take a while and there's a reward at the end of it. And I kind of got away from my writing prose for a while. And so I had an idea for a story a year or two ago and sat down and started writing it as a book. And it came out to be a really hysterical novel about cancel culture. You know what cancel culture is here in the States? It's the phenomenon where, you make a mistake, you say something 10 years ago that now doesn't sound so good, and you basically get canceled, you get fired from the TV show you're working on, or a lot of negativity surrounds you. So I wrote a book about a celebrity who sends out a tweet on Twitter that has a typo in it, which makes it something offensive, which of course is not his intent, and the backlash on it in the media and what have you really ruins his career. And then everything he's ever done gets pulled back up to be re-examined, and makes him really one of the most hated people on the planet because he's offended every race and ethnicity unintentionally. But once he's framed as this bad guy because of this tweet, everything now takes on a new context. So it's a comedy, it's a humor fiction novel. It's called Just a Typo. And I think it's great. It's a terrific book, totally different than a $2 bill documentary. But I like the fact I can do these different things. I'm not strictly a documentarian or what have you, that I can go off and take on a new project and write a book. So very funny stuff. If you're looking for a good read, it's called Just a Typo, and it's on Amazon.
Yeah, kind of from your description, it's making me think of the flip side of, maybe it's a Flannery O'Connor story with the war hero who turns out to be such a insufferable bastard that they just kind of
Oh yeah,
serendipitously shove him out the window.
yeah,
Because
yeah, exactly.
we can't put this guy in the public spotlight because everything, the opposite, everything he says and does is horrible. This guy is horrible, even though he's technically a hero. So,
Yeah, my main thing, I'm a humorist. I mean, I prefer to do things that are funny. And when I started the $2 bill movie, the $2 bill is a quirky piece of currency. So I just assumed it would be some funny, quirky little film until I started researching it, as I mentioned earlier. And then the tone started changing. It wasn't a movie that I was going to make funny, because there was no call for a humorous look at the $2 bill. That's a different type of project. So, I was thrilled to make it. I love the way it came out, the movie, but it wasn't in my element to the degree that I like to do things that are funny. So the book, a way to get back to that a little bit, and I enjoyed that process just as much. I'm
you
probably
haven't.
more proud of the movie. Oh, the book's great. The movie was more of an accomplishment because you have to fly around the country and shoot it and edit it. The book, you sit at your desk and you write it. So I'm proud of the fact that I got to the end and I made it as good as it is. But the film, the $2 bill documentary, probably is one of my achievements that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, I guess having not been in the States so long, there's things like cancel culture. I don't quite even understand what it is because I feel like that wasn't happening in 2010. And hey, one of my coworkers would say, "Hey, it's not a thing." So another one I keep hearing coming up recently is, and I'm not telling you to tell me what this is. I'm just saying apparently it's weird that I have no clue what critical race theory means. I keep hearing
I
that
don't really
bouncing around.
either. They're trying to teach it in schools, and I know, from what I've seen, I think I disagree with it.
I
People
have
who are
no idea
banning
what
it.
it is. So
I don't want to get. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to go down
no,
that
same here. I
road.
feel
And
perfectly happy not knowing what it is at the moment. Someone can teach it to me when the opportunity comes up. But yeah, things work differently here. Some of my favorites is there's a politician who spent public money by going to the hot spring about 130 times that year, which hot springs
okay,
are
so that's
fun.
not good.
No, but he had to make his public apology, and he's
Right.
just sobbing on camera, like making this ridiculous display of himself. But that's kind of the Japanese thing, like the profuse bowing,
That's
so
actually funny. See, I got to go that route with my next humor novel. I mean, Okay, but the whole thing about cancel culture is you got to be careful, because if I told a story and had any sort of not that I would be mocking Japanese culture, but if it felt like I was mocking Japanese culture, that's the kind of thing that invokes cancel culture nowadays. Someone's going to get offended by it. Someone's going to see it and not take it as just, satire. They're going to take it as, oh, that's offensive. You're bad mouthing Japanese, and then all of a sudden I become this victim. You go on social media and start saying, look what this guy did, to Japanese culture. He skewered it in this thing and made fun of it. He's a bad guy. And then everybody in Japan hates me. So that's kind of what cancel culture is in a nutshell. I would have to be careful if I wrote something funny about Japanese culture, because people nowadays are looking to take it, they're looking to take it the wrong way, be offended by it, and use it as a means to attack me back. And it's the culture we're living in here in America. You can't do anything wrong because there's going to be unjust consequences for simple mistakes or misinterpretations of what you meant.
Of course, social media kind of is the stage for most of this, though. I mean, I think with comedians, sometimes it's like they said something 15 years ago and that comes out bad. But in general, it's social media. Like, we don't edit I mean, we shouldn't self-censor, but I don't need to tell you what I think of Trump or Biden on Facebook. Like, if
Yeah,
we're gonna do
because
it, let's have a conversation about it. But posting on Facebook, it's not gonna help.
yeah, and the thing about social media is you're not changing anybody's mind on social. I mean, have you ever read a post about something you disagreed with and went, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think I'll rethink that. Never happens. The first thing you do when you see a post like that is you go in there and you make your argument against. That's what the comments are for. So, no chance. So that's not the place. I don't ever post anything political. And I try not to bring it up like you hear, like when I do podcasts. I mean, I made my comment about our election earlier. That's it as far as I'm going.
Right. No, my dad, I get along very well with my father, but he was posting some relatively out there posts for a while. It's kind of getting a little annoying. Now he's gotten to the point where he's often commenting on like news commentators, and I have no idea what he's even talking about. So
People nowadays, they've all been given a platform, and they want to use it to go after it. Again, I mean, you have a podcast. I'm not saying you're doing this, but you can start a podcast now, right? And so you can find an audience who will listen to what you have to say, and you can make your opinion. And if you want to be the kind of person that attacks and criticizes newscasters, then that can be your thing, right? And so
yeah.
there's a forum to do that now, whereas when we were younger, you didn't have that. So everybody feels like they have a voice, and if they have an agenda, they can get it out there really easily nowadays. But it's
Yeah.
dangerous. That's what cancel culture has proven, that it's dangerous. And this poor sap in my novel feels the brunt of it, even though he didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly. But there are great things about American culture, great things about Japanese culture, but people keep their opinions pretty close to the chest in Japan. You really got to pry to even get these opinions in the first place. But that also means that people tend to get along, and if they don't, it's usually passive aggressive. Again, I don't know if that's better or not, but people
I would
that
imagine it's better there, to be honest with you. I would imagine it's probably more peaceful in Japan, and you don't deal with half the crap we deal with nowadays
because
here
sometimes I'll
in
hear like,
the
oh,
United
this
States.
coworker and this coworker actually they don't get along. I'm like, oh, I never really noticed because it's just not out in the open.
Different culture for sure. I guess I haven't been there, but I'm sure it would be eye-opening to come out there and spend some time and be able to compare it one way to
one of my
the way we live here.
one of my regular podcasting co-hosts, his solution was just to stop scrolling on anything. No scrolling. If you're on Twitter, you don't scroll. I think he scrolls on Instagram still, but that's because it's photos, right? But no scrolling on Facebook. I caught him scrolling on Twitter last week. I was like, "You're scrolling?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I am."
Interesting. That'd be hard. I mean, you can't open Twitter, because if you open Twitter, you're only looking at 5 or 6 tweets. If you don't scroll, you're only looking at the top couple on your feed. So you'd open Twitter and you'd have to close it. Instagram, yeah, you'd scroll, but Facebook, if you open it, you probably get 1 or 2 posts, and then if you don't scroll, that's all you're.
Right. That's all he wants. He doesn't want more than that. Like for me, I don't know Twitter that well. I'll post this to Twitter, this podcast to Twitter, but I basically post podcasts to Twitter and don't think about it otherwise. So
Hmm, interesting. Well, maybe I'll try that one day. I don't know if I can do it. I mean, I'm not social media addict, but when I check Twitter and whatnot, I mean, I scroll, it'd be really difficult to find any value in Twitter. Just going to open it up and see 3 or 4 posts and then have to close it. That's kind of pointless to me. I wouldn't do it.
No, I am guilty of some morning Facebook scrolling for sure. So, not saying that's
Yeah,
my
well,
necessarily what I do, but even Facebook though, it's mostly I'll post my artistic creative pursuits there. I do quite a bit of messaging, although I refuse to put Messenger on my phone for some reason. But
it's a boredom thing too. I think, you're in a waiting room or whatever you're doing now. The phone is the go-to, right? I mean, people are pulling out their phones, even like if they're sitting in a movie and the movie hasn't started yet. You look around before the lights go down, everybody's on their phone. It's just where we go now. We don't talk to each other. We don't sit patiently and wait. We open up our phone and we usually are looking for something, probably on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. That's where people go. They open their phone when they're bored, and that's how they kill time.
yeah, when I am waiting for trains, I don't always do this, but sometimes I make it a point just to not look at any screens while I'm waiting for that train. So
That's a hard to do, man. That's kudos to you if you can pull that off.
and well, that's how I got into podcasting. Really, I do an awful lot of walking. I used to be a relatively large dude, so just a lot of walking, and I'm not looking at a screen while I'm walking, but I'm listening to podcasts usually. So although it is nice when it's been like 10 minutes, I'm like, hey, I'm just walking. I'm not even listening to anything, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's called nature, right?
Yeah, exactly. uh, John, you mentioned your book a little bit, but could you point folks to your website or where, or if they should go to
Yeah, well, let's
Amazon or
see. So
whatever?
I kind of have websites because I do different things, because a $2 bill movie doesn't tie in with a humor fiction novel. It's tough to put them on the same page. So my personal website, which is more of an author website, is johnbennardo.com, and that's Bennardo, first name John, so johnbennardo.com. There, I've got some humorous blogs and writings. But if you want to learn the movie itself, is at $2billmovie.com, and that's the numeral 2 $2billmovie.com, all one word. And there's more information on the film, or clips and whatnot. Let's see, where else? Those are the 2 main places to find me, depending on what you're looking for. Facebook author page, facebook.com/John Bennardo author. And then, of course, on YouTube, the $2 bill documentary. In that case, it's spelled out TWO, so the $2 bill documentary. Or you could just go to YouTube and type $2 in the word bill, $2 bill, into the search field. It'll pull up videos that have the word $2 bill in it, and inevitably one or more of them will be from my channel. And then you can just click on one of the videos or click on the channel name, and you can subscribe to the channel that way and see the 60 something videos I have up there. Some of them are clips from the film, so if you've seen the film, you don't have to watch those, but there's got to be 55 other fresh content pieces to learn more and more about the $2 bill.
And of course, I'll have a link or two in the show notes for folks that want to get into that.
Great, that'd be great.
Hey,
Yeah,
well, John,
I appreciate it.
thanks for coming in today. It's sometimes the niche topics turn out to be the deepest topics. So this is kind of a fun one to look at. So
yeah, and it's I always I've done some podcasts and interviews for the book, and then people find out that I have a movie about $2 bills, and the conversation always goes there. So even when promoting my book, I'm talking about $2 bills. Today, I appreciate the fact that you have me on for $2 bills. You mentioned the book, so it's interesting. People just find it to be an interesting topic. I think that's why the YouTube channel is successful. I think that's why I've had really a good run with the film.
All right, we'll have a good one then.
Thank you so much. Appreciate again you having me on.